Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for everybody coming out tonight. It's magnificent to see all of you, and it kind of works out to be one of those, I guess, special occasions, if we want to say special, but it's an awesome occasion, I think. Today is Hard Boot, which is my software company's 10th year, so it's our 10th anniversary. So, yeah, should we happy birthday? There is cake. We bought cake somewhere. I have no idea where we put it, but you guys have to eat it because I don't want to take it home. So eat the cake. Eat the cake. So we'll kind of jump right in this and share a little bit of detail about why we're here and why all of you guys have joined us tonight. And it really comes down to is that PitchItTO is all about you guys. It's all about startups, and this is the reason why we created it, and this is the reason why we continue to have lots of shows. So some great statistics, I guess, to show based on what we've done. We started this 1 year ago, actually the same kind of month, which is odd, I guess, that it all wrapped up every year at the same time. But this is our 22nd show event, our 11th PitchItTO in this facility. And basically, the idea behind it was, how do we help entrepreneurs get more face time, get in front of angel investors, get some great feedback, and figure out where they can go better on their business and get that critical feedback that they're all looking for. So that's kind of how it all started. We worked out with a couple of businesses that we started investing in a couple years ago, and they started saying, hey, I need some more time pitching. So we thought, okay, why don't we create a little mini event? We'll have everybody come that we can feel that we can get out and see what happens. And long and behold, we had a great turnout in the 5 days that we put the event together. And well, now we've had 22 of them, and they vary in from Pitch at York, Pitch at Durham, Pitch at City Hall, Pitch at Munich. We've also done a pitch series inside of corporations because they were looking at how can they improve entrepreneurship, and they wanted to look at you guys to figure out how to do that, and it worked out quite well. So I thank you guys for coming, so round of applause for you guys. And we'll jump quickly right into, oh, maybe I'm going too fast. Won't work that way. If you guys want to hashtag us out and support the love, share the love, you can do PitchItTO. That would be brilliant. You can follow us on all these great channels, which I'm assuming most of you found us through Meetup or through Eventbrite. So thank you. And again, any love you can share, by all means, it always helps. So what do we do at PitchItTO, or what do we do at PitchIt? We're all about helping you find money faster and spend less time looking for it and more time building your business. And over the year, we've been slowly progressing into being able to make that work better and faster for you. So more of the sessions that are coming up. We have the Up Next series that Frank's been working on. York Angels is running a base camp from the 1st to 3rd, and they do have more of these that come up over the year. So there's something to look at for startups. They do a great deep dive with them. We have the Up Session 9, which is a sales talk that Frank puts on in the Durham region, and it's actually really informative and a great way to get educated on how do I get inside of businesses, how do I work more efficiently, especially inside of sales. And if you guys want to talk to someone who just recently did that, Chimp Treats through Brooks. She was there just Wednesday, and she was awesome. So hire her to do pitches and talks. And then we have Pitch at Durham on November 20th, and we'll send details out for that, so you guys can come check out 4 great startups again at that event. And then November 23rd is PitchItTO. So in the last year, we've had quite a few companies that have come through and worked with us. We've had close to, I believe, almost 100 companies that we've worked with, had pitched. Some companies have pitched more times than others because we're working with them to move them forward a little bit faster. And you might recognize some of these brands. So tonight we want to thank our sponsors. First one would be Miller Thompson. They've been amazing help. Alfred, thank you. VertZone, which is our hosting partner for all of our development, and these guys have been awesome. They've been a partner to Hard Boot for the better part of 5 years, and I swear by them and push everything we can to them because they take care of all of our server needs. The biggest one, of course, being here is the Lodge. So big round for the Lodge for having us here. And if you guys are ever interested in running an event in a cool, amazing place, you need to talk to Diane and Ron, and I believe Diane is right there. Yeah, you guys rock. Flow Water, they've been a company that we invested in a long time ago. Feels like a long time ago. It's like 2 years, but it feels like forever. And they've been a sponsor of ours since day one. So they provide you guys all with the water, which is pretty magnificent. And Hardboot, who helps put all this together, which is my software company. And yeah, thank you guys for everything. So our 10 years. Man, I feel like I'm aging or something. All right, so I'm going to actually introduce Frank. He's going to jump up and do a quick little spiel, chat, and then we're going to move on from there.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Oops. Hi. Am I supposed to use the PowerPoint? You can see we rehearsed this. Listen, I just wanted to take a few minutes and just sort of tell you a little bit of background how Hardboot. I don't work for Hardboot. I met Jeffrey. He's a very humble dude. He doesn't really, if it wasn't for Hardboot, we wouldn't be here today. So when I first met Jeffrey, I asked him, what is this pitch at Toronto? And I said, well, who's paying for all this? And basically, it has been Jeffrey with Hardboot. And that's how we've been able to do 22 sessions. Along the way, he also happened to pick up some really cool sponsors that were just mentioned. But I also wanted to give a little bit of background. Obviously, 10 years providing software solutions. They help you get to market. They can help you with software development. I don't want it to be an infomercial because I really want it to be more about JP, who I'm proud to call my friend. My name is Frank, by the way. I'm an angel investor. I have about 8 or 9 in my portfolio. We just closed one at the bar a few minutes ago through a handshake, no paperwork. I love it. So what this has allowed, so Jeffrey, angel investor, we just came back from the National Angel Convention in Montreal a few weeks ago. And we met a lot of people that can help you out there. And I got to tell you, everywhere I went, and they said, who is this Jeffrey? Don't let the ponytail fool you. He is really, really bright at helping you get your idea to the market and bring it to life. So that's really what his skill is. So I just wanted to say thank you, Jeffrey, personally. He's an angel investor. He belongs to multiple clubs, meaning that the more relationships that he has and he's a member at, like York Angels, like Peterborough Angel, like G10 out in Kitchener, like the Peterborough where we met Chimp Treats, that means he has more relationships to make sure that we can get you folks out in front of the angel groups. So if you would join me, first of all, saying congratulations to Hardboot for 10 years, thanking Hardboot for making this possible here today, and also for Jeffrey. And when you do sit with him and you start talking about your business, you'll know exactly what I'm trying to say. So again, thank you for tonight, and thank you, Jeffrey. And over to Jeffrey. I didn't need that.
Thank you, thank you. So the reason I do that is I didn't even tell you guys my name, so I really suck at intros. And they tell you, make sure you talk about yourself, and I really don't like it.
Actually, I just want to make it clear, I asked if I could do that, because he never does that, and I hope you folks can appreciate why we're trying to do it. So if you want to spend a few hours with me, I can help you with it.
Exactly. Maybe you guys should help me with my pitch, because I'm not doing very well. So one of the things we wanted to throw in was, for fun, was what have we learned in 10 years of doing business? So we created that top 10 list. So the first one was networking matters. Interestingly, the story, when I started working in corporate world 15, 20 years, whatever it was, I made sure that I went out and did every single event, even though I didn't like doing events, I didn't like getting around people and all that good stuff. I forced myself to go out to everything. I was on the rowing team. Yes, rowing team. And why did I do that? Because I needed to get out and meet people, so I forced myself to get out and do that. So I will tell you that 10, 20 years later, there's people in this room that I have known for that long that are in here, and it's because you built a relationship, and they will want to continue to talk to you and work with you at some point in time. So I highly recommend get out, meet people, be vulnerable, open yourself up, because that's what's going to help you succeed in your business and in life. Adapt to change. I think that's the hardest one we all don't like to do, but it is something that I personally think that we all have to embrace a little bit more, because change happens too fast. And if we don't embrace it, you get left behind. So figure out what that change is, implement it in your business, and be open to the next change that's going to happen. Teamwork. Obviously, you guys all know about teamwork, so I can't emphasize it anymore, but having the best team helps you do all these great things. Innovation, creativity, and motivation. These are the things that make startups amazing. It's what keeps you up at night. It's what wakes you up in the morning. It's not because of the negative things. It's because you can't wait to get something else to do and complete. So that's why I can't sleep and why I don't really care to wake up, because I don't want to go to bed. So you got to have that drive. Communication, probably the biggest factor of all of them. The least amount you talk, the least amount you can accomplish. So try and communicate as much as you possibly can, especially with new clients and new customers. That's the biggest thing that they're looking for. It doesn't matter how many times you screw up, but if you keep somebody in line and tell them all the things that are going on, they feel comfortable and they'll want to continue working with you because you gave them the information the whole way through. Trust, respect, and dignity. Stick by your word. You say you're going to do something, that is probably the best thing you can possibly do. Just like the handshake to make a deal. If you can stick to what you said you were going to do and you actually follow it up and make it happen, my God, you can make anything work. And that's probably the biggest tool you'll have. Take risks, but calculated. I don't know. I kind of question this one. I don't really calculate anything. So, but I certainly take a lot of risk. And you have to do that. As a startup person, your drive, everything you do in a day is risk. You're risking the fact that you don't make any money right now. You risk the fact that you're living in your parents or you're living wherever the hell you're living. But at the end of the day, you're risking everything you do every day. So continue to risk and look and shoot for the stars, I guess. Continuous improvements kind of falls back to the other one, but at the end of the day, it's just always trying to get better. Listen, meet as many people as you can, learn from everybody. And think outside the box. I think all the solutions that we come up with, we think are always the best, but the more people that we listen to, the more things we're going to get and be able to drive fire and faster. And the biggest one that I think really wins for everybody is giving back. Find a way to give back. Something small, you won't believe how far it'll take you. Because at the end of the day, somebody else started where you did. And even if you've just started out, someone started out a day before you did, and they're going to need just as much help to succeed. So turn around and give somebody a handshake, a hug, and help them go forward as well. All right, so enough of that good stuff on the top 10. Let's go into what we're all here for. So pitch it format. 11-minute pitch. We mirror exactly what goes on in the angel groups. 11 minutes, buzzer goes off, which we won't have a buzzer, so it'll be me just going, hey, you're done, because we only have one laptop right here. It's going to go to the angel advisors, and they're going to have 1 minute to give and riff on what you need to improve on and where you need to be better. You don't get to say anything as the startup other than nod and say thank you, because really you're only there for advice and help, and you're getting it instantly. And then we'll do 5 minutes of Q&A from the crowd, so you guys get to build up questions, comments, thoughts, and these are crucial because they actually do help the startup think of different ways of doing something, because you guys are coming at it from a whole different perspective. So please make sure of that, and I will hand you the mic, and you can ask your question, and please state your name and the question. Everybody drop their business card. We will do a draft for a draw, not a draft. For a T-shirt, and you can win my best 11. So we hashtag that, which is, I think it's pretty sick. So, all right, now let's go to the advisors. So we're going to start with Frank, who just came up. So Frank is the president of Vitalize, and they help your business in sales and growth. And Frank is also a partner in the OPN network, and they help with being an angel. He's got a lot of insights. As he mentioned, he's invested in numerous companies. And Frank's been doing this pretty much steady for the last 3-4 years. And he's an angel investor in York, Prem, Durham, and a few others. So his whole premise is, how does he help you guys succeed? Angelo, I always like introducing Angelo because he's got this award that I just love telling everybody. Angel of the Year. He comes from the IRAP world, the government. He's an inventor. He's created products. He's pretty awesome. And at the end of the day, he's knowledgeable, and he's part of York Angels. Alfred. I can't even start. There's got to be a long list of how awesome Alfred is. Big fan. Alfred is a partner at Miller Thompson, which is one of our partners at OPN. He's an investor. He's a keener, and he knows a lot of stuff. I actually just like to hang out in their office and just learn off him, because, man, can he multitask and get a lot of things done. So thank you guys for coming. Very exciting to have you. So our teams that are going to be pitching tonight, ACTO, Chimp Treats, Needles, and oh my God, the logo. Anybody know what it is? No, I wanted someone else to yell it out. Taller Ads. And they're awesome. They were actually pitching today at York Angels. Are they? Where's? They might actually still be there because they were at the event earlier. But they will be here. So, all right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start and get kicked off. So, give me 1 second. Oh, actually, June's gonna kick it off. Sorry, guys. We're gonna have IRAP give you guys a few minutes on what they do and how they can help you guys as well. Instead of jumping into the first pitch. Sorry, June.
It's all right. Thank you. Thanks for inviting us. Well, you want to come up and talk about your IRAP days? No. All right. Okay, you got it.
He's not really rapping, is he?
Yeah. By the way, Frank, where were you when I was raising money for my company previously? It would be great to have Frank on the roster. My name is June Kim. I'm here to introduce to you about NRC IRAP program. So this is my first time being here. So if anybody, put up your hand up if you've heard about NRC or NRC IRAP. Okay, I know you guys, you have. Well, of course. Okay, great. So NRC stands for National Research Council. And so it is actually, in fact, a premier research organization of the government of Canada. It's been around for 100 years. And if you can think about any innovations that are made in Canada, we have some sort of footprint to it. So as a testament to that, there are about approximately 2/3 of all the Nobel Prize laureates. At some point, they worked at or worked with NRC. And so that's the sort of fame of NRC. And so we have a number of labs around throughout the country, Canada, and we primarily offer advice services and technology services. And we are also involved with a number of strategic R&D partnerships, consortiums, and clusters. And so that's NRC lab side. So IRAP, NRC IRAP. IRAP stands for Industrial Research Assistance Program. It's really simple. Our mandate is to grow Canadian economy by investing in innovation. And so we love small to medium businesses that are innovating and investing in technologies. We help them grow by providing funding programs as well as advisory services. And so that's really overview. Did I describe it all right?
Yeah, I'll give you a 9 out of 10.
Okay, great, appreciate that. And so we have a number of different programs. So I'm gonna list general categories of those programs and services that we offer, working with small to medium-sized companies. So by definition, small to medium-sized companies, really, it's kind of broad. Any company that employs one employee besides the founder, up to 500 employees. That's the kind of companies we work with. And it has to be Canadian-controlled private corporation. And we don't necessarily invest in companies, but we invest in projects that help the companies grow. So the project that the companies choose have to be innovative and has to be able to support the companies to grow. Those are the main projects that we like to work with. And so myself, my title is ITA. It's Industrial Technology Advisor. So our background is usually science or engineering. We have many years of industry experience. Some of them are a C-suite level executive to small to medium-sized founders and entrepreneurs. And typically our funding budget is anywhere between $250 to $300 million. And all that money go into you, small to medium-sized companies that are developing innovative technologies for them to grow and therefore help the Canadian economy. Okay? So 5 categories of services and programs that we offer. 1, we all love this, it's a funding program. And 2, advisory services. And 3, referrals and network services and programs. And the 4th one is youth programs. I know that some companies are beneficiary of that. And the fifth one is international programs. So we have strategically selected 5 countries globally, and plus EU, European Union, to help bridge the partnership between the companies in those countries, 5 countries. Those countries are, it's like BRIC minus Russia. So it's Brazil, China, India, South Korea, and Israel. So if you can identify any companies you want to collaborate in terms of developing R&D project, there are funding programs as well as advisory services that are available for you to connect with those companies in those countries, as well as the European Union. So generally all the European countries in Europe, mostly. And so those are the programs and services that we offer. So we love speaking with you. And unfortunately, I have to leave right after my presentation. That's why I have to jump in and interrupt and apologize for that. I have a previous engagement. But look us up, IRAP, IRAP. And we are out there to support you guys. Thank you very much.
And you guys can send an email to info@opn.ninja. That's info@opn.ninja. And what we can do is we can set you guys up with June, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure that you guys are able to access the same details, funds, and all that good stuff as well. So, so we're going to kick it off, the first pitch. Are you ready? Chimp treats? No, Brooke, come on up.
No, we did not. That's a question I get everywhere if I brought samples. I could be meeting my accountant and they're wondering where the free product is. Definitely. Apologize. Half of our fruit is missing here. But thank you, Jeffrey, and for Frank for inviting us out tonight. It's actually our second time here, and it's been amazing so far. My name is Brooke Hammer. I'm the founder of Chimp Treats. We are an innovative health food company creating amazing new products made entirely from fruit with nothing else added. Our signature product is called Nice Cream. Basically, it is like ice cream, a sweet and creamy frozen dessert, but it's made entirely from fruit. So our banana Nice Cream is one ingredient, just straight up bananas. So it's 60 calories a serving, no fat. It's like eating half a banana, just in a much better way. So moving on from that, who is the team? Who's making it happen? Exciting news, we just recently became a team of 10. But the core team, who's making it all happen, really, is Jillian Dunn, our marketing manager, who's here with us today, Danielle Dickinson, who does all of our operations manufacturing, and myself. And on top of that, we have 3 production workers that we've recently brought on board from a community living partnership, and 4 brand ambassadors. So these are the individuals who are representing us in the stores doing all of the demonstrations. So a quick history, just where we started, what's happened, where we are now. So I started Chimp Treats in my last semester at Trent University. I was a varsity runner. I was coaching the competitive cheerleading team, full-time student. So it was all about health, fitness, nutrition. And I actually was making it at home, and I found, you can't buy it anywhere. And I thought that if people could buy this dessert that was literally just straight up bananas in the grocery stores every week, they would love it. So that was the idea. And, we did some pitch competitions. We got a lot of great feedback, and it went really well. And so from that time, we did a little bit of beta testing, getting consumer feedback. What did people think of it? Would they buy it? How much would they pay for it? What did the trade think? Retailers. And in that time, we took about 12 months of R&D working with both one of our shareholders, who is a manufacturing expert, and the world's leading ice cream manufacturing expert as well. And we developed the process that we now use to make Nice Cream, which overcomes quite a few barriers I'll touch on later, which is why other companies can't do what we're doing without significant investment of resources. So that 12-month period I was talking about of R&D is when we secured our first big listing before our launch. And for a health food company, Whole Foods is really everything. Everybody knows Whole Foods. It's what you aim for, and really that validation. And we got our Whole Foods listing before we had even launched. Went to the meeting, and they saw what we saw. It's a perfect Whole Foods product. It doesn't get any better, and we are the only product on the market that is similar to Nice Cream. And we also built a team in that time. So we launched mass market only in June of this year. and quick industry trends which have really validated what we're doing and what we're seeing in the industry right now. So in the health food industry, and you look at the natural food products, they're growing annually at around 15%, where the total food industry itself is only growing at around 3%. So you see that in the ice cream industry too. It's growing pretty slowly, but inside of that, the health food, Halo Top, Arctic Zero, they're growing at 4 or 5 times the typical growth rate. Sales in natural food products have doubled. Everybody knows that. If you've been in a Metro or Sobeys lately, you'll see that natural food aisle is just going over and over, slowly taking over the grocery store. And veganism and the popularity of plant-based diets has continued to grow. And now what you're seeing is people who aren't vegan, they're not necessarily vegetarian, anything like that, no allergies. They're seeing the health benefits, and they're going for these products as well. So who is our target market? Well, we've been pleasantly surprised with how broad that demographic is. A big part of that is because it's not a trendy product. It's not, high protein. There's no kale in it. It's straight up bananas. So whether you are 6 months old or 99 years old, you can have and enjoy the product. But we really focus our marketing on millennial women for a few reasons. Millennials are the largest living generation, and millennial women specifically over-index in the health food category. So they buy more health food products than any other segment of the population, and typically on social media every single day. So how do we reach them on social media? We do a few really great things. One being our influencer campaigns. Even just here in Toronto today, we dropped off and met with 3 different influencers. So these are people with huge followings on social media that have either reached out to us or we reach out to them. We provide the product and they'll promote it for us. It's so much more valuable than us just telling everybody how amazing it is. And it's great too when we're entering new markets. We're entering the Western market, and that's a big part of it as well, in helping get the word out there in a meaningful way that consumers will trust. Another thing we do marketing-wise has been shows and events. It's been a big part of us, whether it be to acquire new retailers. We do trade shows like the Canadian Health Food Association, where we've met Loblaws and Walmart, and it's where we were introduced also to Metro and Sobeys. We've also done quite a few consumer shows. The Toronto Vegan Food and Drink Festival was great for us. We've done some pop-up shows. And they've been a big hit as well, especially when it comes to reaching more influencers, because then that expands to their whole network as well. And lastly, a big part of our marketing is the in-store demos. So we have fantastic brand ambassadors who go to each of our retailers and they do the demonstrations for us, which has been amazing. They're handpicked, they are our brand, and they're passionate about what we're doing. So I mentioned earlier we did 12 months of R&D, and it was a long time and a long process to get to where we are now and get the product that we have now. And what's so special about it compared to other products, yes, it's just straight up fruit, but it's more about what's not in it, without all of the emulsifiers and stabilizers and all of these things, because you see low-calorie ice cream, and it is a long ingredient list, and consumers are wising up to that, and they don't want artificially low-calorie. That bar for the health food industry keeps on going up, and this is the way that we meet it. I'm going to do a quick overview of our operations, how we manufacture our product, but what I want to focus on is what most people care about, and that's why can't other people just put bananas into their machines and get what we have out? So traditional ice cream manufacturing, you rely on the fat in the mixture to lubricate the machines, and it's a really thin mixture being pumped through. Of course, pureed bananas is a lot thicker, a lot more viscous, harder to manufacture. So our system right now is completely gravity-fed and avoids all of the pumps that normal ice cream manufacturing uses. And on top of that, we've replaced the stainless steel scraper blades and quite a few other pieces that were significant barriers to entry. So how do we get our product out there? I'll touch later on the retailers that we have now and the ones that we have scheduled for the future, but we basically have 2 distributors. Unify Canada. Unify itself is the world's largest natural food distributor. We are using them mainly for Whole Foods, for the independents, for smaller specialty food stores, because they do take a larger cut. That results in an SRP of $6.99 in retail, which is fine for a Whole Foods, for Fiesta Farms sweet potato, but not so fine for a Metro or a Food Basics. And when we got that account, they really demanded a $5.99 retail price, which makes sense for their market and for their demographic. So they've introduced us to Burr Logistics, who now does all of our mass market accounts. And you can see they take a full $1 per unit less, and you see that resulting in a lower SRP as well. So we've really nailed that strategy there, and we're working on finding other companies like Burr Logistics that we are negotiating with right now to help us in the US market because Burr is just here in Canada. So a quick overview, I apologize for the formatting, for how we measure up against the competition. So you look in the natural food aisle, you look at the ice cream and it is a sea of brown and cream and gray. And our packaging is bright blue and pink and yellow and pops up the shelf. So even if we don't have a brand ambassador there or someone hasn't heard of it, we demand attention no matter what. And that's been really, really helpful for us. And we get a lot of compliments from retailers as well on our packaging. We're highly affordable, $5.99 at Metro. It is one of the lowest prices, so really mitigates the risk of trying a new product, especially when it is one that is only bananas. And then lastly, like the two last things really is that anybody can have it. You're vegan, you're lactose intolerant, you're not, you're an athlete, anything like that. As long as you're not allergic to bananas, you can enjoy our product, and that's something that really separates us. You know, it's not trendy, high protein, kale in it. So it's something that could do really well in international markets as well, such as China, Australia, Brazil, are potential markets that we're looking at. So I touched a little bit on retailers. We were fortunate enough to start with Whole Foods Ontario, and we got that listing in February, but it actually just went out on shelves last week. That's their category review schedule. We're in a good time right now because it's category review to go out in the spring. So we're working with regions of Costco all throughout the States and Whole Foods regions in the States as well. We've also secured a listing for Whole Foods West, which is going out Q1 of 2018. So we have a lot of exciting things happening. We're in quite a few Sobeys and Foodland locations as well, and we are expanding that right up until next summer. A little short-term forecasting, conservatively looking at the 700K in the next, less than 12 months now, but from the September to August, very conservatively, you can see, of course, if we bring Costco on board in 1 month, it's a bigger jump. So it has a pretty conservative growth rate here, excluding any gigantic accounts. Spreading that out over 5 years, you can see, really year 3 to year 5 is when we're great target for acquisition, and this is one of the hottest industries. And what you see really frequently is bigger companies purchasing smaller, innovative health food companies before they even reach the $10 million in sales mark. So we see year 3 to year 5 being really that prime time. By year 2, we're going to be in the U.S. in a few Whole Foods regions and Costco regions, as well as expanding with Sobeys and Loblaw. So it's really just building up that points of distribution that we already have. And a way that we're doing that is with a broker we just signed with, Food Innovations. They are amazing, and they are the ones who are presenting our stuff to Costco, Whole Foods, and seem to be a great partner for growth for us. So funding to date, we have been fortunate enough to receive quite a few grants, all listed up here, from the Ontario Centres of Excellence to the IRAP Green Employment Program. We've also done EODP, which helps with some of our machinery and equipment. We did an early seed round, and we've also received the Canada Job Grant for training for some of my staff while they are the perfect person as we add to their job so that they can continue to do a fantastic job for us. And right now, what we are doing is a $200,000 convertible note. We're capping the valuation for our Series A at $3 million. We see that in 12 to 18 months. So really giving ourselves a full year out there on the market, gathering data before we accurately value the company. It's extremely difficult to value relationships and future things. So giving ourselves a lot of time to get enough data to accurately value, and we're offering a 15% discount on that. So I would be happy to answer any questions.
Good timing, good timing, good timing. Frank, do you want to start?
Why don't I go last since I just invested in that?
It's a terrible thing when you've got a conflict between your duty and your interest. Flawless presentation. Really enjoyed it. And so everything else I'm going to say is just what I'll call critique at the margins. It would have been nice to have a better understanding of whether there's any intellectual property related to this and what sort of barrier and protection that provides to the investor in terms of what you're doing and how you go about that. It would have been great to have a better sense, although I got hints of it, of what your international expansion strategy is, because that's where the big bonanza is. And the other thing I would say is, I want to just congratulate you for understanding how important the digital influencer marketing strategy is. Like, go hard and fast with that, and you are going to score big.
great job. And I really had to dig deep to find, like, where are the shortcomings. So the only thing that I could, on the plus side, I love your brand. The colors are amazing. Well, I'm a fruit, so there you go. And my favorite fruit actually is banana. So, so you're right in sync with me. A couple of things, and Alfred touched on them. Well, one aspect is you mentioned in your pitch that you're the healthiest in terms of the product. I would like to have seen how much and how it compares to other products that are out there. I really like the brand ambassador approach. It gives that real close touch to your customers, and I think that that's really important. The 20 million in 5 years, I think you set a high bar, but I think all successful companies have to set a high bar in order to be truly successful. The terms are actually quite good, so I think Frank and the rest jumped in a good opportunity. Other than that, the one last thing is on the sugar content. How does your product, because there's a whole slew, a whole market potential. Those of us that have glucose problems, we love ice cream. And we would probably love nice cream a lot better than ice cream. So commenting on where the product plays in that space could potentially leverage another market segment that you may not be hitting right now.
So obviously I'm a fan because I did invest, but I'm going to obviously, first of all, I love the marketing as well. I'm going to like all that. Love the fact that you also put OPN in the top corner. I don't know if anybody noticed that, but you customize the presentation, which I think is important when you're pitching. So if you're pitching at a Peterborough Angel, put their logo up. The one thing that I would say is I had a hard time reading the projections because I couldn't read the legend quite well. The colors were, so I had a hard time. The only thing that I would say is focus on the number. I love the facts that you were also talking about channel partner and collaboration. You don't always have to be the person selling it. You can create these, so well done on that. I would tend to stay away a little bit maybe on the going into the weeds, as they say, on the manufacturing, because I know you were running out of time. But where I wanted to see a little bit more is maybe on the dollars and the cents. Because to be fair, when it comes to angel investing, a lot of it is about, hey, what's your plan for selling the company? For an average angel investor, it's about 7 years before you may see a return. And for maybe every 10, I think the numbers are not that great in the success. I don't want to discourage you guys with that. But I would have loved to have seen a little bit more on the exit strategy and a little bit more on the finance side. Because those are usually what decides if we're going to put in the money. When I saw you pitch this the third time, you had a lot more time. It was double, not 11 minutes. So you were able to cover off a lot more on the financial side. But anyway, all around, and I think that you guys are going to do some amazing stuff, and I'm so happy to be an investor.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to do the quick Q&A. Who has some questions? Dig deep. I know you guys got some questions. All right, here we go.
Great presentation, by the way. I'm just wondering, without you going into anything super confidential, what typically do you need to give up in order to get money from investors? What have you found?
Equity-wise, you mean?
Yeah, well, anything, maybe your next born. I don't know.
No, we've been pretty fortunate. We did a seed round very early in, before we had figured out the manufacturing even, so we didn't even know for sure that it was going to work. And we're fortunate enough to have people who believed in what we were doing, saw the vision, and came on board. So at that point, we'd given away 10% the first time, and then this convertible note will probably convert in 12 to 18 months. So when we know that valuation, we'll know more, what is the equity attached to that. So we're fortunate enough for the seed round that it wasn't too much, and then we were even more fortunate that the terms that we had proposed for our convertible note were met, and we didn't have to change anything that way. Yeah. Does that answer? So when we did our seed round, so before we had Whole Foods, before we even knew if we were going to make a product that would work, we did 40,000 for the 10% was the first one, and then we upped that to 60 with the same people. Yeah. Awesome.
Okay, the second question, we'll say this came in online, but this came from Alexis and asked me to read it. So with the viscosity of the bananas being so low, how do you plan to scale production to a national size or national scale?
Yeah, so that's actually a good question that I now have a really good answer for. So right now, what we're doing, the way we're manufacturing, it's on a batch basis. So it's really, if you want to double production, you add another machine, and we have custom machines. But just last week, we did a full plant trial with a co-packing company. We've been working with them for 5 or 6 months. We finally got to that plant trial, and it worked incredibly well. We collaborated with Douglas Goff, the ice cream manufacturing expert I mentioned, from the University of Guelph Food Science program. So we worked together to get that program. And it worked amazingly. So we had to add supplementary pumps and change the pre-processing to thin it out without adding anything to it. So it took a lot of R&D on the backside, but our first full plant trial went amazing, came through pretty close to our temperature goals. It was at -3 instead of -5. So we are doing a secondary plant trial, which is going to be a mock production day when they can get better numbers, how much they can make, and then how much they're going to charge us for each unit. And with this being successful, that means that as we grow, we can then do this, and anybody who has the same equipment, we can move this process that we're now using to other co-packing companies. And you'll know, like with ice cream, you have great margins, but margin dollars is pretty low in food. So shipping, across the country is really expensive. They don't care about the percentage. It's square footage, really. So what most ice cream manufacturers do is they'll open up a new facility, in another region, in another country. So this means that we can then do that with another co-packing company. And looking, at potential acquisition, it would be a company that already has this equipment. And it would just be a matter of modifying the production. So we, last week at least, got a big win that way, and we're hoping Q1 2018 is when they take over our production.
Okay, great. That's awesome. One last question.
Hi. It sounds like you have some really impressive partnerships lined up. So I was just wondering if you could tell us a little bit about like sort of lessons learned or strategies that you found really helpful in trying to land some of these great sounding partnerships.
Yeah, so I actually gave a whole talk about this yesterday morning at Frank's event. So like I said, we got Whole Foods before we had launched, but really that wasn't through any connection, anybody that I knew. It was me being very annoying, and then they gave me a meeting. And it was, I think why that was so successful is that they were the perfect partner and the perfect retailer for this product. So if you want a great big partner to start with, and I think that everybody should go for the big partners right away as soon as you're ready to accommodate that, and then, but still make money in the meantime. So that was one where it was really a matter of knocking on doors. But what we're doing as we grow is we've partnered with a broker. We're at that level where I can't knock on doors all over the States, and people from, Whole Foods US, Trader Joe's, all that stuff, they wouldn't answer anyways if I did. So when you work with a broker, that's people who already have relationships with the people that you're trying to sell to. A lot of it was knocking on doors, and same with our distributor promoting our product and going to the trade shows and going to where the people that you're trying to sell to congregate and meeting them that way. But now that we have shareholders and we have a lot of advisors and mentors, we reach out to them too. Frank sent us over, he called a hit list, so all of the people, all the retailers that we want to be in, sending that out to your network, seeing if there's anywhere anybody can help you, is kind of our next step. So we have a list going that we're going to be sending out, and hopefully somebody knows somebody who could maybe get us a meeting. Yeah.
Perfect. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Jeffrey, you just mentioned that video, you guys videoed it yesterday, so if they want to see it, you can see how the traction is.
For sure, yeah. We have if you guys go to opn.ninja, there's a video that we have of the discussion that was on yesterday, and you guys can learn a lot of exciting details from there as well. In a few days, we're editing it, but it will be up there, so you can check it out, opn.ninja. All right, we're going to jump into Justin with needles. This is also being videotaped, and then we edit the videotaping, and you guys will be able to see the show in a few days. Thank you. All right, Justin, you're up.
Thanks. How's everyone doing? Thanks for coming tonight. I'm Justin Hartzman, and I am the CEO and co-founder of Needles.com. And Needles.com is the easiest and most effective way to advertise on social media using data science and natural language processing for Facebook and Instagram. So last month we did $408,000 in revenue. I'd like to get a round of applause for my amazing team who did so well for us. So a bunch of them are here tonight. Thanks for coming and supporting us. We're doing an excellent job. There's 65 million small businesses on the Facebook platform today, but only 5 million of those are advertising because the status quo options are do it yourself, which is super difficult. If anyone's tried, you know it's a lot of steps, and it's really hard to do well. Or go to a typical digital agency, which is too expensive. So $5,000 up front, and then 25% of spend. So what exists on the market in the way of software, as you'll see on this side here, AdExpresso, Nanigans, AdStage, they're really great companies. But these companies, you have to have your own knowledge to use them. You have to be an experienced marketer, and they'll automate what's in your head. We drew the line in the sand and said, we're not going to be that company. We're going to automate the entire process for that 60 million others who need to be there that aren't. And we're making the most accessible product for a desperately needed market. So everyone says they're disrupting the market. We don't say that. We hate that term. We are filling a desperate need for these 60 million plus people. And by 2020, it'll be over 100 million. We are the internet's first robo agency. We automatically create, target, and optimize digital advertising for the small business. And I'll talk about each of those three pieces right now. First is the onboarding or the creation process. In 6 simple questions, we know who you are, who you want to sell to, and what it is you are selling. And then we create 50 to 500 ads for you in real time. That's unbelievable. It takes less than 15 minutes to do that. Then, where we stand out, the moat around our company, the IP, the way that we stand out, is our intent to purchase technology. So simply put, when someone says, my tooth hurts, what do I do? We know they need a dentist, and we show them an ad in real time for the optimal chance of clicking on that ad and becoming a customer of that business. And lastly, we automate the optimization of their campaign 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We do this with full automation. So to give you an understanding of this, we have a typical digital agency will have 1 account manager for every 7 to 10 accounts. We have 1 account manager for every 350 plus accounts. This is a fully scalable venture-ready company. So our model, we are $100 a month, again, accessible to that desperate, needily market, and we take 10 to 15% of spend. On average, our users spend $500. They're micro advertisers as an ad budget. On average, we make $150 per revenue per user per month, which is pretty incredible. And we have a lifetime value now pushing $400, higher than that number today. So how do we stack up? Are we really doing such a good job? You'll see on the right-hand side for you guys, you'll see Facebook stats across all 5 million campaigns. And the most important one to look at is the click-through rate in the middle. They're at 0.9%. We're at 1.77%. That's almost 2x, 100 times better than they are, because we're creating better ads by automating it and making it organic, and we're targeting the right people. And because of that, our cost per click and our cost per 1,000 views are much lower. Because of this, we are now in the final stages becoming Facebook's 5th marketing partner worldwide. This is a huge accomplishment for my team. I'm very proud of what we've gotten this far. So where we are, high-level KPIs, we're 1.5 years old. We have over 13,000 registrations on our platform and over 675 paying users. We are the largest and fastest growing digital agency in the world, all in 1.5 years. It cost us a acquire of $164, and we're over, as of today, 23 people on our team from 3 this time last year. In September, again, I have to say that number, we did $408,000 in revenue, which is a 30% growth from the month previous to that. So you'll see, I show this because everyone asked for the hockey stick growth. Well, you can see it. We've been very quick since the inception. Our customer acquisition strategy, we really have to talk about this. Everyone wants to know how we are growing so quickly. And I think the answer is very relevant. We are dog fooding our own product. We are sipping our own champagne. We are using our product to find our own customers. And because of that, we are showing 4-time industry average conversion rates. So from a free user to paid user at over 20% is 4 times industry average. And then from just an average visit to the site to a paid user, we're over 2.91. This month, we're at 3.5%. Oh, sorry. Our second strategy is partnerships. So we have awesome ones in the pipeline right now. We actually just closed Google this week. We're about to offer a product that's never been offered before. The first agency in the world to do that. I'm going to meet them next week down in California to finalize that. But Lead Pages and HubSpot, we just came back 2 weeks ago from Boston from the Inbound Conference. We were announced as the newest HubSpot partnership. This is a huge opportunity for us. It usually takes a year to do it. We did it in 3 days. Why? Because 3 months ago, they came to acquire the company. And unfortunately, we didn't come to a deal that made sense for us, but a partnership did, and we'll grow together. It's a really interesting time for us. Our team, you see myself, Justin. Michael is not here tonight. Jeremy's somewhere here in the crowd. We've known each other since we're 6 years old. We went to camp together as children. We've had 2 prior exits in the social media and small business space, and we're really different people with a really different skill set, but that's what makes us excel today. We're the team to do this, and we're executing on it. The future, what does it look like? We're about to go into next year a $6 million round, which will get us to 30,000 users. Remember, 30,000 out of that 60 million pool, which by 2020 will be over 100 million. And what does that look like? At 30,000 users, we're over $82 million in revenue. And I just want to come back for a second. I mentioned earlier, this is all US dollars. So you can add 30% to every number that I've told you today. But right now, and what I want to talk about is we are just completing a $1 million round. Of $1 million, we've raised 1.2, and by the end of the month, we will be at $1.5 million. If anyone's interested in joining, we're happy to talk to you. We're taking a few more strategic partners with us in this journey, so happy to discuss that afterwards if you have any questions. Oh, let's go back. Again, that's at a 15% discount at a $10 million cap with 4% interest on that round. Just to reiterate, $408,000 last month. We did 200% growth quarter over quarter. We have over 675 paying users, making us, again, the largest and quickest growing digital agency in the world. I appreciate your time tonight. I know I'm a little under time, but I think I gave you everything you need to know. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was good. Angela, you want to kick it off?
Well, Justin, thanks. Did a great job, and you did it under time. I love that. So instead of doing a minute, I'm going to do it in like 30 seconds, okay? Yeah. Actually, I really love what you have accomplished, and it was stressing the 400K plus in that 1 month. It demonstrates the pride, not only the strength of the company, but the pride you have in your team. And I think that's paramount in a successful company. And throughout your presentation, you recognized that strength that you have. Bench strength is really important. And in the market that you're in, it's not for the faint of heart, right? Sure. Because it's very competitive and can be bloodthirsty at times. And you need the right people with you working together as a team. Weather the dark days. Exactly. I really love your tagline. What was it again?
The easiest and most effective way to advertise on Facebook and Instagram.
And also, you're not being disruptive in the marketplace. You're filling a desperate need. I love that, and I think everyone in here should take that home with them today. So kudos to you. And I think you may be a little bit too late because I was going to say, I wrote down a note, well, I need to bring this guy into the screening meeting because
they said no already at about 2 years ago. I told them they were wrong then, but...
it was before I joined.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
But great job.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So, yeah, I echo, and I'm going to focus more on, I can say great job and all that stuff, but you're a very passionate guy. I would tell you to just slow down a little bit. The passion, I'm very passionate myself, but it can also get the best of us. Personally, I was having a hard time following. You mentioned 408,000. I tried to think, okay, is that 408,000? Does he get 15% of that? Or is that actually 408,000 when is your cut? So I didn't quite know that. For a little bit there, I thought maybe you were talking to a customer as opposed to an angel investor that's deciding, do I want to give you my money and how long before I get a return? So again, just on that. On the customer side, you have 675. I didn't see one logo. of one customer. You spoke about the customers, but you can validate by showing me who are those customers. You use some great case studies, but who are these case studies? No. The other one thing is that investors always look, is the CEO coachable? Will they take advice? Right? So you mentioned customers, you did results, but I didn't see any of the results because it was very generic. You showed some numbers, but you got to back it up and validate it with who are these customers that you did this great lifts for. So if you show me that customer, it validates it even more. I thought it was a great job on the partnerships. You also mentioned it was $164 to acquire a customer. That's great, but what is the lifetime value of that customer? If it's $160, I didn't get it. I didn't get it. If I didn't get it, that means I missed it. And then the only thing I would ask you is, folks, take your dime on the financials. The financials that's the key. So I couldn't really quite follow the trends. Personally, I don't like to see hockey sticks because I like to see more of what is the rationalization of how you came up with that hockey stick. Remember, everybody's great at telling you where they are, where they want to go, how you're going to get there. So that's just my advice. I wish you great success. I think you're doing some great things. But again, just think about that when you're talking to angels. Because really for me, I mean, all the other things, it's about that dollar and the cents. And I couldn't quite follow on the dollars and the cents.
Yeah, I was impressed too. And I don't want you to take my comments as anything other than what I'll say. Clearly, you've got a business that's got a successful business model proven, successful revenue model proven. As Frank said, you've got some very exciting partnerships either made or in the works, and that's all exciting. I would have been very interested in a little bit more, even just 30 seconds more, on what I'll call the IPAI aspect of what it is you're really doing, that you're delivering to. I'm less concerned when it's Facebook customers as to who they are or whether, because these are all emerging players themselves, more likely, not Pepsi, not a big brand. But the other thing I would have been interested in as a robo agency, I would have loved to have gotten a hint from you that you appreciated the potential opportunistic M&A play you've got going forward as a consequence of having a better mousetrap, given what's going on with all the conventional agencies today. And I'd like you to keep that in mind. And maybe you don't want to get the investors sidetracked, but you should be thinking a lot about it.
And I think thank you, guys. I think Justin's background certainly helps with that, too. There you go.
Thank you very much.
All right, so who has questions in the audience? Okay.
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing, man?
Good.
My name is Dushan. Great presentation, by the way. Just one quick question. What kind of businesses would this automation of ad setup and deployment and optimization would it not work for?
That's a great question.
And sorry, the reason why I ask is because I noticed that it was roughly around like $150 MR per customer, but the lifespan, LTV was around like 400. So it was like roughly around like 3 months, if you will, of spend with the customer. So I was curious to know, like, what kind of customers are you acquiring and which ones would it not work for?
Yeah, so great question. This is working now. It speaks to a couple points. First of all, the reason why I don't mention our customers is because no one knows Acme Plumbing in Arkansas. They're just small micro advertisers, and that's our play to go across the board, industry agnostic, player agnostic, and location agnostic is what we're looking for. But to your question, a small business lasts for 2.5 weeks on the Facebook platform, and they have a real problem keeping the long tail. So from going 2.5 weeks to over just about 4 months, just on the platform, whether it's spending, whether it's just being there, being active, they're spending for 2.5 weeks. We have it to almost 4 months. We're breaking the 4-month barrier right now. That's why Facebook has looked at it and said, you're doing something different. It's the IP. It's the efficacy that we have of the product and the fact that they're never going to go to a small business sales platform. They don't even offer account management to accounts under $1 million spend a month. So we're really acquiring their customers, we're managing their customers, customer service on their behalf, and that's what is allowing us to grow. So our customer, what we found is typically that they're someone who's tried and failed is our best customer, and going from a 2-week time frame to a 4-month is really great. Our customers are rejuvenating themselves on the platform. They're growing at an alarming rate, again, from 65 million to 100 million in 3 years, allowing us to attain that 30,000 customer mark. Is very simple for us to do as long as we continue on the trajectory in the path that we are now. We actually grew, went past our forecast now because we're bad at forecasting, but we brought on some huge customers and we grew about 100% greater than we were supposed to last month. You know, for example, we thought we were a small business company, but then we brought on Lending Tree and Compare Cards, who spend $150 million a year on social spend. We doubled their return numbers in the first 3 days, went from a $10,000 budget to a $300,000 per month budget with them. So we'll see some huge number increases over the next while. Now they've introduced us, Bank of Montreal we're sitting with today. We have a long history of moving forward, but we're really hyper-focused and laser-focused on that small individual, the person who does spend $500 a month, because there's a huge untapped market. And what we have in the history that my partners and I have in 2 exits previously is filling the underserved or the desperate need that we've gone to before. They actually, in aggregate, make up more dollar spend than the largest companies do on the platform. So that's what we're going for today. Hope that answers that question.
Okay, great. Who else has a question? Scotty?
Agency dinosaur here, about to go extinct, I think. Have you ever thought about white labeling it for agencies?
We do have white label product right now. We have 60 agencies across the country or North America using it and into UK. Big proponent of, we actually have one of our new partnership managers with us today who will be going and taking that to the next level. What happens is we work with big companies like Go Media, who we're talking to right now. They have over 1,000 customers. They're owned by Tegna Corporation, a public traded company, but they get rid of 50% of all leads that come in because they spend under $5,000 a month. So they're actually letting revenue just drop off the table. We now can come in and automate the process for those smaller customers as a white label. They're the boots on the ground. They're the soldier. They're the name that will keep growing us. So that's part of our strategy as we continue to move forward.
And what's the cost to the agency?
It's very inexpensive. So if you want a full white label program, you're talking the $15,000 to $30,000 range. If you just want to come on as an agency that have non-branded reports, starts at $200 a month for 4 users, 4 or 5 users, and then it's $45 for every user after that, and then we take 10% of their spend. So it's very attainable to anyone.
Any other, are you looking at LinkedIn or any of the other social media?
LinkedIn, this minimum spend is too high, and they don't have enough tools as an agency to automate the process. We were on Twitter previously, but Twitter just doesn't perform for anybody, so, and they don't provide the tools. We are now working with Google, which we're going to offer a product that you haven't heard of yet, which I can't talk about just yet, but WeChat and Snapchat, and those are coming on Pinterest as they create the tools that we need to automate that process in general. No problem.
Okay, we're taking one more question.
I'll just talk while you're doing that. Just
while I'm searching?
Yeah, while you're searching.
I have a question for you, though.
Go ahead.
So, based on how your system has been operating and running, where do you see your penetration going next? Are you guys hyper-focused using your algorithms to just go after small companies that fit this criteria? Or are you shifting it to go where there's more money? How are you actually driving out that search?
No, we're definitely keeping it long tail right now. The short tail, the big companies are coming after us. And the problem is they all want more hand-holding, and we're not about hand-holding. We're about the full robo agency, taking the people out of it. You know, people eat, sleep, drink, go on Facebook, go to the washroom. We're not about that. Let's let our systems do it automatically. So that's the reason why, and to Frank's point earlier, we've had a couple acquisition offers already. We're not ready for that. We see some heavy growth. We're seeing it right now. This will be a $300 to $500 million exit in 3 years. That's why we filled, Sorry? Yeah. Well, the fact is usually it's the first question someone asks, and I purposely do that to talk to it. The rationale for us is We are we've oversubscribed on a round right now. We'll take another $200,000 to $300,000. That's why we're here in this room, to find anyone who can be a strategic player with us and join us if they're going to bring some value. And we can bring value to them, and we can do it together and be a partnership. And we're going to that bigger round next year. We actually turned down a larger Series A just to find angels. So we've raised just over 2.5, 3 million total from angels, and we found that it's been the absolute best move for us. They have a complete different network that we have. I'll give you a short example of this. We had a problem. We were processing in American dollars as a Canadian company, and every time that happened, they get a foreign transaction fee at 1. Or 2, it would get denied because of security reasons. So we had to open an American company, and there's tax problems with that. So we went to a VC who was part of our original seed round. They said, here's our firm. It's $100,000. It's usually $200,000. Do it. So I sent out my monthly newsletter, which I do, very focused on getting the knowledge out. We're a transparent company. Asked our angels to say, hey guys, can you help us here? We had 5 or 6 of them come up and say, my firm will do it for you, no cost at all. Here's the tax planning. So angels have been a big proponent. We've built an unbelievable board from some of the biggest players in the States to come on with us because of those reasons, and we've been very fortunate to do that. So we're excited. Thank you again for having us. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. So the first thing we're going to do before we jump in is kind of more of our background educational side. So I have a question for the angels, and I'll give you guys a mic, and you can pass the mic around. Whoa. Ariangelo, you'll start first with this one, okay?
To do what?
All right, so the question I have that I'm hoping you guys will be able to help the rest of the audience with is, as a startup, I'm looking to go for funding. And I'm hoping that all of you, at some point in time, while you're building your business, are always going to be looking to go for funding. And one of the questions that always comes up all the time is, how much money should I be asking for? How do I figure out what an evaluation is? How do I know that I should be going for $300,000, $500,000, $50,000? And I think we should put a little bit of clarification in that to help people, because I think it is a strenuous kind of question that comes out all the time. So Angelo, why don't you jump in and help us with that?
It's always a big topic of discussion. And we, not only in the screening meeting, so typically what we do at York Angels, companies come in, they do a pitch in front of a committee of angels, and the goal there is to determine whether there is something there to bring out to the broader audience. And it's a volunteer job, so to speak, and we're very meticulous. We want to do a good job, because the worst thing you want to have on your resume is that you got fired from a volunteer job, right? That's not going to get you another job. But all kidding aside, it really depends on what stage the company is at in terms of revenues. If you're pre-revenue and you're coming in and saying, I have a valuation of $5 million, we're going to say, how do you justify that? There are several methods that you can use to come up with a valuation number, whether it's a multiplier of revenues or net profit, whatever mechanism you are. When you're pre-revenue, that multiplication is not going to lead to much, right? So there are various methods of trying to determine that. And the other factor that we look at, too, is if someone is asking for $500,000 is the ask, and we come in, you're at pre-revenue, and at your stage, given the strength of your team, the market opportunity that exists, the amount of effort you've gone to gain some feedback from the marketplace, because no one's committed at that particular stage, maybe we say, yeah, you should be in the range of $700K to $1 million. Well, if you do the math on that, the angels would take over 50% of the company. We do not want to control a company. So our immediate feedback would be, you know, you would probably be in a stronger position, go for a smaller ask, reduce what the valuation is to a reasonable number, define some milestones over a 6 to 9 month period, achieve those milestones, try and set the milestones at a level that you actually can surpass, and then when you come back, you have significant bench strength to warrant not the original valuation, but much more. And so that's the philosophy that, and the advice that I give. Work with us to try and come up with a good mix. And if you go to the York Angel site, in the documents, there's actually a presentation on 7 methods of determining the value of a company. And one, which would scare the bejesus out of you, because I think it's probably suited for an extremely well-established company with a significant number of KPI and parameters, and doesn't really apply to the earlier stage. But there are other methods depending on the stage. Sorry for the long-winded answer, but it's a difficult...
no, for sure. And Frank, or do you have anything you want to add to that?
The only thing I would say is, you know, talk about what Alfred was talking about earlier. Is there some IP, which of course is going to increase the evaluation, right? That is something. To be quite honest, it's not my expertise. That's what I love about the angel world. They will help you. Jeffrey and I know someone that we brought into an angel group. It's been about 6 months. Her company started at 7 million, went down to 5 million, went down to 4 million, and she's still chasing, right? So at some point, you got to realize, stop worrying about the evaluation and take some of the advice that Angela was saying. Take a smaller evaluation, get the money that you need, come back with some traction. Guys, that's the most important, is traction. Nothing excites. Also keep in mind that the angel investors are not a young crowd. You know, I'm 55, I'm one of the younger guys, and they may not understand all this, but what they do understand is customers and traction, right?
For sure. Alfred?
What makes you think I'm older than 55?
I agree with everything Frank said, but I'm actually going to come at this a totally different way. I don't think people should be thinking about valuations. When an angel investor is looking at this thing, he's got an hour. And what he knows is something that actually Frank said earlier. He wants to know whether or not there's intellectual property that has some value, and intellectual property does have value whether or not the business ever takes off. That's the first thing. The second thing he wants to know is whether or not the founder actually is going to take advice. And in that connection, they want to know, who has he actually got around himself as an advisory group who the founder's looking to? Who's already really invested in this thing now? Those are the questions that go to whether or not, and you should always, always have a financial model that discloses your assumptions at whatever stage you're at, so those assumptions can be assessed. And after all of that, my general advice, and it's not universal, but in most cases, forget about valuation. Do a safe deal, a secure agreement for equity, which ties to actually the first real round when you've really proven the model, proven the traction, proven the revenue curve, proven the margins, or whatever. And focus on actually just establishing credibility, because it's a mug's game.
Agreed.
And I wouldn't lose sleep over it.
No, I like that. So I think to kind of reiterate all of that, or to put that into context, when you are racing your first round, I don't think putting it so much as a huge thing, I got to figure out my company's worth $1 million or $2 million. You probably don't have a worth at this point in time because you haven't actually started to close any deals. You may have some IP, you may start to work on it. So the key to all of this is, if you are looking for dollars, and everybody always says this, I've got 18-month run. Well, I don't want to pay you for 18 months to hang out and do your thing, Because really, at the end of the day, that's 18 months. That's a year and a half that I have to wait for you to do something big. I'll give you some money for 6 months, because at the end of the day, if you're choking at the end of 6 months, you're going to be working 10 times harder to make sure that in that 6 months, you're going to drive numbers, value, and get something out of what you're trying to do. And that's what it comes down to. At the end of the day, anybody that's investing in you, they want to see that you're going to be able to pull the line, make it happen quick, so that you're coming back for money again. And while you're doing that, all the things that these guys brought up, 100% agree with. It's all great value, and it's something you got to keep in mind when you're looking for that. And a safe or convertible debt, these are all good ways to start off your company because it protects you as a business. Now, will angel groups let you do that? Probably not, so we won't even go there. So anyhow, so that was some good insight. So the next company that's going to come up and pitch, oh, actually, before we do that, how many people here are startup companies? Yeah, lovely, everybody. So what we're going to do is we have a 30-second spot. 3 people can come up right now. We're going to do an elevator pitch. You have 30 seconds to pitch. I will actually stop you at 30 seconds. This isn't tell your life story. This is to come up in front of everybody and pitch what you do, what you're about. So first 3 that come on up. You can actually take the mic and have a little chat and tell everybody what you do. No nerves, man. Come on up. Yeah, walk up. 3 people. Let's go. Who wants to tell everybody? Hey, man, you all come here to network. It's the fastest, easiest way to tell people what you do and have someone come up and have an interest in you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. So, keeping it to 30 seconds, we are Rewards to Pay. We are a loyalty commerce platform. We basically solve a problem for our customers, which says, if you have points spread across multiple reward programs, be it Air Miles, Aeroplan, whatever TD reward programs, use our platform to buy any products that you can purchase on Amazon and combine all your points at one single place. That's what we do, and we provide the entire suite of Amazon products. So that's 30 seconds or less.
That was under 30 seconds, but I like that. So that was good. Thank you. Anybody else up? Yeah, Nima, come on, man. You're allowed. We said 3, and everybody seems to be too scared to come up and talk on the mic.
All right. Okay, so... Start it?
Start, go.
All right, cool. Everyone's going to tell you that self-driving is the future. I'm here to tell you it's not. It's actually the present. And we make that happen by giving you self-driving with your existing car. And how we do that is give you a product that will transform any regular car into a level 3 self-driving car. So, yeah, that's about it. Enjoy it.
They're like, damn, that's sick. What else do I got to do? The company's name? Xmatic. All right, one last one. Peter, come on up.
I'm not investing anymore.
Hi, my name's Peter Wolfel, and I'm with MeetMeHere.com. You can see the logo here. Maybe if you have really good eyes, it's an M that turns from handshake to a heart. It's a kind of an optical illusion. It's really cool. Anyway, check it out, meetmehere.com. We're a new social network startup. It's in beta stage right now. Hope to launch the beginning of next year. It's going to be very exciting. Helps people to know each other. We have a trademark on those 3 words. So, and that means from locally and worldwide.
Done. All right. Thank you, Peter. All right, thanks for playing along, guys. It's always exciting to get up and talk about your business. So we're going to jump right into it. And right now, we had a bit of a shift in program. So one of our newest pitch companies, Everett, is going to come up, and he's going to pitch Arrowonics.
Hi, everyone. My name is Everett Finley. I'm the CEO of Arrowonics. I was a last-minute addition to the docket. So if I mess up, you can just blame Laura for serving me my 2nd glass of wine already. So let me tell you a little bit about what Arrowonics does. Well, first off, let me start with the problem that we're solving. And the problem is that fireworks suck. And you might be thinking, like, fireworks don't suck. I kind of like fireworks. And you're not wrong, because I like fireworks too, but there's a lot of significant problems with them. First thing, they're really expensive. So any decent fireworks show that you're going to see, that's going to be a $10,000 to $50,000 show. Disney parks, some of them spend $50,000 every single night on fireworks. Macy's Day Parade, biggest single fireworks show in the world, $6 million in fireworks used up in a single night. So they cost an insane amount. Really, really bad for the environment. They put all sorts of terrible stuff in the atmosphere, becoming more and more of a problem, obviously. They're really, really loud, which is part of their charm, but make dogs really scared and have a lot of issues with certain noise bylaws. So a lot of areas can't actually put them on. And frankly, we've all really seen them. You know, there's nothing really new to them. They haven't changed significantly in basically 100 years, and they can't tell a story. They can't be themed to a particular event. So you're very limited in what they can do. So the way we're solving this is with drone light shows. And if you bear with us, we're just going to switch over to a YouTube video. The last minute thing, we had some technical difficulties where the movie wasn't playing. So just give us a second here. Laura, I hope, has not had 2 glasses of wine as I had. Okay, so this is one of our first paid gig. This is at York University. This is last November. This is a new engineering building. So we're launching the building. There's a glass wall. So VIP event. The idea was that no one inside knew what was going on. It's a total surprise to the audience. And this was just happening outside. So it was a cold night. The idea was that people were going to be watching from the inside and just looking out through the windows. So I'm inside controlling the music. Someone finds an open door, and there's literally a stampede of people outside. And that's everyone just rushing out to the balconies, trying to get a better view of what's going on here. So this was with just 20 drones. This is what we were capable of doing. So you can imagine as we expand up to 50, 100, 1,000 drones at a time, what's capable with this technology. Okay, pretty good. Slide 4, slide 4. Okay, so just to give you a bit of a comparison between fireworks and drone light shows, obviously the lights, we both have them. The sound, as I mentioned, was a plus and a minus for fireworks. Great thing with drone light shows is you hook it up into a sound system. It's all synced up, so you can have the music synced up to the show. You can control the volume however loud you want it to be. We can both scale the technologies to any size of show that you want, but the real benefits of this technology compared to fireworks, obviously environmentally friendly. You can customize it however you want. So if a client wants their logo, maybe they want some brand activation, some advertising to offset some of the costs of putting on the show in the first place, we can do that with them. And the 2 things that I'm really excited about are the fact that it's repeatable, so that you can do it night after night after night. All you need to do is recharge the batteries. Maybe you can do a couple of shows a night. We've done that before. And the shows themselves are downloadable and they're shareable. So I'll talk about our business model in the presentation. But as you do have operations set up all around the world, you can share these performances. So once you put in the design work, anyone around the world can share your performance and put it on that next night. So as far as competition, there are a couple of companies in the world that do this. Some of you maybe have seen Intel. They did the Super Bowl with Lady Gaga this past year. They partnered up with Disney late last year. So they're sort of like the market leader, I would say, or at least the ones the most attention. A couple other ones, Ars Electronica Spaxels. They initially partnered with Intel. They've since gone their separate ways. And Unique is the current record holder. They've done a 1,000 drone show in China. So they're a Chinese drone company last winter. But the thing with all these companies, they're only doing a very small number. I'm talking like a couple of shows a year. I mean, they're big, to be fair, but they're only doing a very small number of them. And that's completely missing the point of this technology, the fact that it's repeatable and then it's shareable. So they're completely missing the mark. And by the way, we've done more shows than all of our other competitors combined.
The wine's creeping in.
Yeah. It should be relaxing, but it's just making me more nervous. So our team. So I did a master's in aerospace engineering with Hugh Liu. I have a master's in economics. Worked 6 years in the aerospace industry before this in various jet projects. Our founder, Hugh Liu, he's a professor at U of T. He runs one of the world's leading drone research labs, so it gives us unparalleled access to talent as well as cutting-edge research. Hugh is another ex-student, Henry is another ex-student of Hugh's. He's our CTO. He's basically built this from the ground up. He's an absolute genius. And Hong is our CFO. So Hugh and Hong are unpaid, so we have 4 full-time staff on the payroll right now. So what we're looking for is $300,000 in return for 50% equity in the company, and what we really want to do with that is build out our business model. So we were obviously going to build up our sales. So we want to hire like really seasoned salespeople to build up our operations worldwide. So the focus is going to be really on the recurring shows. So places like theme parks, resorts where you have like events night after night. And then to keep up with the demand from the sales, we won't need operations personnel. And then also designers. So if you can imagine a bunch of aerospace engineers trying to come up with creative performances, we need a bit of help with that going forward. And then we're also working on a software that's designed specifically to create these shows. So we sort of an MVP version of this right now, so we want to continue developing that so that we can get it in the hands of more creative people than ourselves. And what we really want to do is set up these regional operations. So there's a huge pain to get approval in different areas because of drone regulation. So we want to start small in a lot of areas and then grow up as the market demands in that particular area, so we don't have to spend all this money shipping drones all over the world. So just to give you a bit of a timeline, we started a bit of a non-traditional start to us. So we had $500,000 of seed investment that was basically, we kind of like were an R&D consulting company. So we had basically partnership, did a lot of R&D work for a seed investor. And then 2016, we really started focusing on the light shows, started doing our own business. We had our first live show in September of last year. We did a 60 drone show in Beijing. And then we had our first paid show at home, late 2016. And then 2017 is since when things have really been ramping up for us. So we've done a ton of shows since May. You can see from the graph here, we've done over 250,000 in the last number of months. We did the show for the Pacific Northern Exhibition in Vancouver, so it's 3 weeks straight of shows. Huge success there. And then I'm heading to Kuwait next week, and we're going to be opening the new Four Seasons hotel there. So things are really looking up for us. We're really, really excited. So yeah, I'm really, really pumped about how this is going so far. So the near-term business model that we're focusing on is to grow up the show side of things. So right now we are a full service provider, so we do the design, the execution, do everything. So we want to build that out and keeping up to international demands. There's only a couple companies in the world that do this. We get a lot of requests from around the world to be able to do this. We want to make sure we're keeping up with that demand. But really their growth model is to build out these regional operations. And basically to set these up, we've really focused on trying to keep the scale, try to keep it really scalable. So low startup cost and low startup time. So we use as much off-the-shelf drone parts as possible. Take you less than 2 months to get up and running anywhere in the world. And we're going to be working mostly with drone operators so that they know the technology, they know the regulatory environment that they're working in. So that's a really important part. So they can start small but get approval quickly to start doing these shows right away. 30 drones is all you need. We've had amazing success in Canada, just starting with this, and then we're going to be building up as demand needs. What we've been able to do in Canada is $50,000 a month average revenue. To be honest, Canada is probably not the best for this market because Canada doesn't like to spend a lot of money on entertainment. So we're really excited about seeing how this will work in better markets than us. And our model going forward is a monthly fee plus a percentage of revenue that we're going to be working on. So this is a very simple 3-year projection, but it just gives you a sense of how we want to move forward in the future. So we definitely want to focus. So this is just our regional operations growth. So this is where we really want to focus our efforts on. Assuming that we can replicate what we're able to do in Canada with $50,000 a month in revenue. If we want to open up 6 operations next year, 12 the following one, and 24 after that, that gets us to $20 million in revenue. In 3 years. So I'll admit these are simple assumptions right now, but this is just to give you an idea of how scalable this business could be. So yeah, current status, we're the only ones in Canada that can do this. We're the second people in the US to do this, so we've opened up a US operation. We've licensed our technology to them already. They were the second ones after Intel to do this in the US. We're going to be the first ones in Kuwait as of next week. We've done $220,000 since May, and we've got another $60K that's booked and about $450 in outstanding proposals that we're working out in the next little bit. So we might, again, we're just looking for $300 in return for 15% equity. These are some of the media attention that we've got. It's been fantastic. Every event that we've been able to do, we've gotten a ton of media attention before and after the event, so it's really helped the events that we're working with to get way more people to come to their events than they would have been able to get otherwise. Okay, so that's it. I'm Ever Finley. I'm the CEO of Arrowonics, and we are going to be the future of the $4 billion fireworks market. Thanks very much.
That was good. Thank you for jumping in. Frank, you get to start this time.
Okay. Well, Everett, don't rush me, JP. I think a minute is not enough if you're trying to give feedback, but I'm going to test on now. So I've seen
60 seconds.
I've seen your presentation before, Everett. As I was talking to some people, I look at you identified the problem, you talked about the answer. It took a while for you to tell me what is the credibility that you guys have your master's and your PhD in it. It took a while to get to that point. But the only thing that I wanted to talk about is, okay, first of all, the team. They're all PhDs and masters, and that's great. But who's doing the selling? Also, the PowerPoint presentation, you're a visual company. I think the presentation has to be a visual company. So I think, but the deck, you've changed it since you last pitched it. The other thing that I would ask is, it seems that to work at your company, you have to be starting with an H. You got Hugh, you got Harry, you got Hong, and then you got Everett. So that's not consistent. The shows you talk about, great. But when you're talking about the shows, talk about the revenue with it. The revenue was a little bit further down. But overall, for me, the one thing that when we talked about is the assumptions, which I know Alfred mentioned earlier. The assumptions that you made to get where you're going, you got to back those up. You got to back this up. And then the only other thing I would ask as an angel investor is I'm also thinking, okay, what experience do you guys have handling $300,000? I didn't see that any of the team has scaled the company before, have done this, have maybe exited, which makes angel investors feel comfortable. And I think that's some of the same feedback that we gave you when you pitched that the angel. And I know that Angela's been working with you with your deck. But and then the other thing is the exit. Talk about 7 years down the road, 5 years down the road, who may acquire you, what may you think that, what may be my 10 times, 20 times. But overall, I'm with the crowd. This is very cool shit.
I'm not going to be as technical as Frank. You're a lot more relaxed, so that's. I think that the one area I have a couple of points, and I think we've talked about this in the past. It's the bench strength of the team from a business point of view. You really need to bring out where that is in the team. Because you're now at that stage where you're getting from the lab, in quotes, into the actual marketplace, and leverage the success that you've already got. Obviously, there must be elements of that in the team to be able to get that. So you need to bring that out a bit more. I think talk about the revenues just like the Frank described. In your model, the regional operations model, there's an emphasis on the top line, but it doesn't talk about the costs, right? So you need to identify that. Yes, this regional operation is going to generate $50K per month, but what's it going to cost, right? Also, try and quantify, and I know it may be early days, but what is that percentage of monthly revenue? What's the number? Are you talking about a 10% or a 50%? And it exists because I know the strength that you guys have, but bring that out too. How easy or difficult is it for someone else to replicate what you can do? When you talk about 30 drones flying to the beat of the music and in certain configurations, that's difficult to replicate. So bring that out if it's skills or IP or whatever those elements that differentiate you from anyone else trying to come in.
Yeah, first of all, super cool. And when I watched the brief piece of your video, I just immediately was captivated. But I'm confused at a fundamental level as to whether this is a service business or it's an IP business or some combination of both. And then when I hear about, okay, so we're going to scale this by opening all these regional operations, I'm thinking, okay, what does that really mean? And is this the sort of thing where you've got technology you can, or intellectual property you can franchise to make that go? There are a whole bunch of questions because I wasn't really clear what kind of business I was looking at. All I knew is that it's deliverable from the perspective of the viewer is fabulous. But I'm not sure, and this ties also in, I think, to the fact that you've got all these aerospace geniuses, who are your team as to whether or not you've actually got that expertise at the table to say, let's look at this from the perspective of what it is and where's the value, what's the marketing strategy, what's the sales strategy, how do we scale this most effectively and efficiently. And then I think if you can get that clear and right and buttoned down, you got a lot of sex appeal in this. Okay?
I like it. Thank you, guys. Who has questions?
Yeah, okay.
What's the division of your revenues between... Here, hold on one sec.
Thanks, JP. I'd like to know what the division of revenues are between an advertising model, perhaps, and just shows. Are you doing any of the advertising per se?
So so far, it's really been like we've done. I mean, it's advertising that's been part of a show. So, like our U.S. operation, for instance, did a show for Toyota, and so they included their logo, but it was really for like a retreat of VIP. So it was less about advertising. So far, it's been much more about just the performance more than advertising. But that's obviously a potential moving forward.
Yeah, that strikes me as a huge growth market for you. As you know, I mean, obviously trademarks and et cetera can be duplicated in this format in the sky as opposed to fireworks is something very unique to this technology. So I just find that that's very interesting. And were you talking about franchises, or were you going to actually own these regional offices? I wasn't clear about that.
Yeah, so it would be more of a sort of like, I mean, I guess like in between like the sort of the franchise and licensing model. So the model that we have would be that they would pay the upfront cost to get the drones. We would give them the software and train them how to use it, and then it's like a monthly fee that we would charge them plus a percentage of revenue. Does that answer your question? Okay, nice.
That just speaks that the business model needs to be a little bit more clear. It's also
Yep.
not outward sales.
Okay.
Basically, it's a software that is what you have.
Yeah.
It's the software that they use.
And what would it cost? What would it cost for a regional guy to buy into this?
If they want to start with 30 drones, it costs them about 15 grand to get into it. And then, I mean, depending on like the market they're working in, they can pay for that in their first show, second show. They can pay it off very, very quickly. And then what we're looking to charge is about like a 5,000 to 10,000 monthly fee that we would charge from them, and then like around like a 20% revenue fee. Yeah, so like I like to get the flat fee to encourage them to continue using these shows, and then a revenue percentage so that as they grow, so the revenue's to us. Yeah.
Okay. Everett, I appreciate the fact you bought like a lot of aerospace PhDs and that kind. But the thing with drones, it's readily available to the average person on the street.
Mm-hmm.
Was it really necessary for you to hire like aerospace PhD within your company to do what you need to do, or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
like
sure.
I'm talking about PhDs. You said PhDs, people. And the drones can be bought by people everybody on the street and general public. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you can buy a drone, but and you can also buy a car too, but you need the engineers to be able to design that. So the people who have created the software that goes into the drones that allows you to fly them as a relatively new drone pilot, those are the PhDs. Those are the people that have the training, and they're the ones who've enabled that technology. So our team of aerospace engineers have basically built upon the industry standard of open source autopilot. And so, yeah, I mean, you do need some pretty highly trained people to be able to know what's going on in that software and then to improve on it.
So you were not really inventing the wheel, as they say. Okay.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess we're building on what other people have done. So I mean, the drone technology has gotten so much better in the last number of years. So we're building off of
readily available.
Yeah. So I mean, we're building off of what the standard of autopilot is now, which has gotten better and better, and that has enabled us to be able to say, for instance, have 30 or a couple hundred of them at once. But I do think like the ability to have so many of them flying at once and to be able to communicate and control that many at once, that's really an innovation that we've put together.
I understand. I clap.
Yep.
Somebody just texted me something that I want to actually share with you because it resonated with me. I'm not so sure that you should be pitching this thing as a replacement for fireworks. I think this is an alternative event entertainment phenomenon that's exciting in its own right. It's different than fireworks. Fireworks are still going to be a turn on, and you don't need to make your point about your environmentally, blah, 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 blah. Right? Screw that.
Okay.
What you got is something sexy. And it's an alternative that is lower cost and really neat, and you don't need to worry about fireworks.
I agree, and we've definitely gotten similar feedback, not worded quite as nicely in the past. But I think the motivation for us for that is to quantify a particular size of market. And so if we say we're a replacement for the entertainment market that's worth $100 billion, people are going to say, well, that doesn't make any sense, right? And so it's really to put a number on the size of this, because I think if people if you try to pitch the outdoor entertainment market, they wouldn't understand how big a potential market it is.
Sense of what it could be.
I see. So use that as an example of how big that market is and say, well, look, we've got all these other opportunities of advertising and brand activation. Like, we're going to surpass that. Okay. Thank you.
A new form of entertainment. So perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you're going to go right now. What's that? It's ACTO, last one.
Still going to do questions?
Yeah, well, we're going to move on to the next one. We're just going to move on to the next one, guys. So our last presentation is ACTO, so we're going to jump right into it.
Awesome. Thank you, JP, for having me here. I actually started my day by pitching when you were in the crowd this morning, so it's a full loop. Yes, and how could I forget Angelo? Good evening. Happy to be here. To tell you a little bit about ACTO, we are a field sales training platform for life sciences companies. And essentially the value we create for them is we empower them to sell more products and commercialize faster. When we peeled open the vertical, what we saw was that the stakes couldn't be higher for pharma and device manufacturers. Today, on average, it takes 14 years and roughly $2 billion to take a drug or a device from lab to bedside. And you fast forward all that time and money, and what's happening where the rubber meets the road is the reps are having an incredibly difficult time actually selling these products. There were some recent regulations that changed the whole landscape. Not too many years ago, if you were a pharma or device rep, you could take the surgeons out for a cruise to the Bahamas or get them some sweet concert tickets and make the sale, but not anymore. And we've heard that from over 300 mid-market life sciences companies that the reps, frankly, are overwhelmed with the complexity of clinical information, how fast that information is changing in the fields, and the shrinking time that they get with the physicians. At the same time, when you shift the frame to the VPs of sales, what they're saying is they don't know enough. They don't know enough about what their reps are saying to the physicians in the fields, and which could also be a big litigation liability. That's really where ACTO comes in. We make sure that the reps that have chosen to be hidden in that picture, they deliver the right message at the right time, while we also give VPs of sales deep visibility into the capabilities of their sales force. How the solution works is very straightforward. You have the clinical educators and sales training managers create these micro lessons on how to sell the products. So everything from objection handling to how to speak to the physician, what the clinical benefits are, it gets pushed out into the fields. The reps train anytime and anywhere. So they could be on a plane, before a meeting, doesn't matter. Just in short bursts, they learn how to sell these very complex, expensive devices. Then the X factor with ACTO is on an ongoing basis, if the rep is ever stuck, they can pull up the information in just seconds and even use it to persuade the physician that this is the treatment of choice. And while that is happening, we track all rep engagement, their behaviors, apply our algorithms to it, and we pinpoint to the VPs of sales that here are 3 reps in Boston region that might not get how to sell your products, that might be at risk of off-label messaging. So it starts off as a training tool for the managers, doubles up as a sales tool for the reps, and finally ends up being a business intelligence tool for the VPs of sales and chief medical officers. We're seeing some great traction. We have now 31 clients. Some of them are top-tier global life sciences companies. Most of our clients are mid-market companies, i.e. they have between 50 and 200 reps, and they're located in Boston, Philadelphia, and New Jersey. And we also bagged some prestigious industry awards. For example, the Training Magazine's Best Mobile Experience Award in 2016. And some very encouraging signs from the field. We did this deployment at Apollo Endosurgery, and we saw a sales lift of $1.1 million for the 2 products that they trained on using ACTO. Again, not a conclusive scientific level study, but definitely a very encouraging sign for the stage that we're in. Also at Pentax, started with their division here in New Jersey. In just 4 months, folks in Europe said, we want that too, and we doubled up our account. Perhaps the most encouraging was at Organogenesis, where in just 2 weeks, we saw an uptake of 99% from the reps, and they were coming back on average 3 times to reference the content. And if you've ever worked with field reps, to get them to do 99% of anything, it's a big challenge. How we're different is the speed and precision with which reps can find the information they need in the field, and also the depth of visibility we give senior leaders like chief medical officers and VPs of sales. What exists right now is these boring, clunky LMSs that look like they were built in the 90s, right after the dot-com era. Reps absolutely dread going into the software platforms. Then there would be these big binders that the reps actually carry with them to the meeting, never really see the light of the day. And there might be these big huge recordings of webinars on Dropbox that it's impossible for reps to find the information they need on. And finally, from a reporting standpoint, they use these Excel sheets where what typically they record is the attendance at their national sales meeting. So if a pharma or a device company gets sued, it again is a big liability risk for them. So ACTO consolidates all of that. It's a solution designed for life sciences companies in the mid-market. And right now we have a lot of fences that we want to convert into moats. How we're doing that is by building AI on top of our platform. So we're connecting with other big CRM systems and open data sets to push out timely notifications to the reps. So if I'm about to see Dr. Smith, and based on this big prescription pattern database, I know Dr. Smith prefers ointments over tablets. Right before my meeting, I get this short micro lesson, this learning module that teaches me how to speak about the benefits of ointments over tablets. At the same time, for the VPs of sales, we're applying machine learning to flag for them who are the reps that might be at the risk of missing their numbers or even going off-label messaging. So big strategic value there for the companies. And the market is large enough. We, with our annual contract value and a lifetime value of 3 years, that gives us a market size of $1.5 billion. There are 23,000 life sciences companies in North America. And with just 31 companies, we've built quite robust business. Actually, these numbers have gone up as of last week and yesterday afternoon. Now we're at $620,000 in ARR, which was our target for the year, which we blew past 2 months in advance. So we've grown actually 10x this year, and our MRR continues to grow at 18% month over month. Also, there are some deal sweeteners for us where clients would pay implementation and consulting fee to get on our platform. That's another roughly $300,000. In terms of the business model, it's a standard software as a service business model. Our ACV to CAC ratio is 4:1. More than that, actually, and these are annual contracts paid up front. So we get paid in 30 days, which is good, so I can rent this velvet jacket. In terms of our LTV to CAC ratio, again, very strong fundamentals. 10 to 1, more than 10 to 1. So as we go from the early market to the more mature market, it gives us enough margins to play around with different marketing and sales strategies. Sales cycles are 6 to 8 weeks. We target VPs of sales and chief medical officers, and they get influenced by sales training managers and clinical educators. In terms of our 3-month pipeline, also looking very healthy, more than $325,000 in ARR to be obtained, out of which we closed Conformis for $52,000 USD yesterday. We closed Analog Devices on a 3-year contract for $70,000 each USD, $70,000 a year USD for 3 years. Trudell Medical at $32,000. They're based out of London, Ontario. Again, 3-year contract. And BTG closed at $28,000 a year USD, all USD numbers. So we're knocking our list out of the park, and we're very happy about that, obviously. As I mentioned, we've hit our numbers for the year for 2017. We are now doing a round that Mars IAF is leading in a convertible note. We're going to take this $1.5 million that we get and turn that into $1.6 million in sales next year, at which point we'll be ready for our Series A. We will be doing a Series A of between $3 and $5 million in early 2019. Use that cash to become cash flow positive in 2020, and also be ready for some sort of a liquidation event, which we've mapped out under our strategic roadmap. In terms of our fundraising history, we raised $500,000 USD with Canada-China Angel Alliance with the promise of finding a product market fit. In Canadian, 610, 500 USD. And we promised them that we would find a product market fit, get early market traction, and build a solid industry-leading product. We hit all 3 objectives. And now we're going to continue our winning trajectory with the $1.5 million we're raising to get to our 2 million ARR target, capitalize the company so we can have serious strategic partnerships in the vertical, and finally build the AI improvements that our customers are asking for. And we now have 2 pilots for the AI in place that we're going to be rolling out end of Q3 next year. In terms of our team, we've proven execution across all the domains. My background's in neuropsychology, and thereafter I did law. I have 2 law degrees, actually, and I lasted 2 months in law. You can imagine what that conversation was with my parents when I told them after 10 years and 4 degrees I was going to be starting a training app. Kumar, who's our CTO, he leads product development. I lead business development. And Kumar is actually on the Forbes Technology Council, where he sits on the panel alongside top CTOs from the world, such as Oracle and Salesforce. What we want to do is, once we close the round, we're going to be bringing more senior talent from the vertical. So getting folks that have life sciences experience, and also get more diversity on the team. There needs to be at least a few more women on that management team, and we're committed to that. Finally, what I want to close off on is that the thrust of what we're doing is to empower people to be their best. And right now we're doing that for these reps that are hitting the pavement every day, trying to get the right messages to the physicians so they can make better treatment options. These reps that we're empowering are not selling widgets, they're selling life-saving technologies and life-saving treatment options. And this is an opportunity for us to positively impact the healthcare system. And with the round that we're doing right now, we're looking to partner with investors that see that same vision, and we can collectively empower people to be their best, because that's what we do at ACTO. Thank you.
Hello? Okay.
1 minute this time each.
Yeah.
Only.
Hey, I've been really good tonight.
Fire away.
I'm really impressed. I do want to tell you, as a lawyer who's been on both sides of the table, both as a CEO and as a lawyer, you made the right choice, and in my next life, I'm coming back as you. All I want to say is, well done, great presentation. This has been really thought through well. I don't have a criticism, except I would love to have heard a broader strategy in terms of channel partnering for getting this solution out. And I think there really is something exciting you could do there. And I'm just wondering if you've got a good marketing and sales mind at your table. Not that you can't close deals, you can. But have you got the right scalable model to get this thing out there everywhere to the huge network of possibilities for you?
Actually, my feedback, I have like 3 points. And I think it's really 3 points that I think that you really touched on that everyone should take away from tonight, because your presentation was fantastic. You really highlighted the value you bring to your customer. And I think a lot of companies are so focused inwardly, they forget that, because that's their path to success. And not only the value, but tracking it and learning from it and making sure that you leverage that to your next customer and next customer and next customer. I think that message really rang to me in your presentation. Your definition of what a moat is, whether it includes intellectual property or not, and I think you as a lawyer probably understand the strengths and weaknesses of it, but what you described demonstrated the difficulty in having someone else try and replicate what you've done. And also the ratios. And Frank likes to talk about it. I like to talk about it. What's your customer acquisition cost and what's your lifetime value of that customer, and bringing it into a ratio format showing that it's a 10x. These are all things that resonate with us. The only downside I have is that you're moving at such a pace that we angels can't jump in and ride on you. I then have a question. Did you close the deal this morning that you took the call on, or?
It was a discovery call.
Good job.
So, Parth, great presentation. I just want to give you a couple of, so what I looked at first, of course, is the problem. Did you have the answer? Where's the credibility? Where's the evidence? And what steps are you taking? So you outlined that. The only thing I would say is it took about 4 or 5 slides before you explained the day in the life of a pharmaceutical sales rep. So you identified the problem, but maybe if you would have just moved a little bit further up in the presentation. But I think that when I look at that, all the ingredients were there. For the folks that don't know what a moat is, it's a castle where you have the water around the castle. That's called the moat. And as Angela would say, you want a moat with sharks in there that can't get to do what you do. So, because obviously you have some great IP here, right? Nice pipeline. I love the example of traction. I love the example of case studies with logos. Not just a number, but you actually talked about what customer, because now it's not just John Smith giving you, it's you actually said which customer you helped. So when you put those numbers, they're there. So overall, the only thing I would have asked is, what's your exit strategy? That was the only thing that I thought was missing is, okay, who's going to buy you? When do you think they're going to buy you? And my 1 minute is up.
Thanks, guys. You can hold that. We're going to do some QA. All right, guys, who has some questions?
Thank you for the great feedback. Thank you.
Any questions? Well, I'm gonna kick it off then, Parth. So, based on your experience so far and what you guys have raised and the direction you've gone, what became the passion that's driving you guys to do this? Was it the problem that you unearthed? Was it the vertical that you found? What was it that got you guys in there? And what is getting you hungry to get to the end goal, which is the exit?
That's a really good question. It's dovetailing off some of the feedback that was shared about customer empathy. What's interesting is our journey started as being a product in search of a market. And it's a little counterintuitive because we actually built a product. and we didn't know who we were selling it to. And in that process, what we really discovered was what the customers cared about. Because in order for us to survive, the only way we could survive was to really tune in and stop building and start listening. And that was the pivotal moment. And it's something that's so ingrained in our DNA, where every person on our team is so sales focused. What we've now realized is we scaled up too fast when we started. We had a burn rate of $50,000, and for 14 employees, full time. I wasn't kidding about the rental suit. And what that pressed us to do was to really hustle to survive. And I'm proud to say that you could have a junior developer in our team, and they would be able to talk about the problem that we're solving for the customer. Before we build a feature out, we get the developer to say how it would be used by the customer and what strategic value it would create. For those of you that have seen ACTO on the pitching circuit, Kumar, our CTO, if he was here, he would do as good of a job describing what ACTO is and what the problem we're solving. So the company is focused with sales execution, and we're deeply customer empathetic. That's what gets it going. And if I can, bring some hip hop lingo here, we're married to the game, man. We're hooked. We're hooked.
I like it. That's good. And really, at the end of the day, it's the story that drives it. And you guys, the reason why I asked that is because you actually came from a different angle than everybody else. Everybody comes in with, I fell in love with this, I wanted to help this. And you guys took it from a different angle to make it something extraordinary and fill a gap that didn't know that was there. And that's a game changer for people out here, because when they're building their companies, they're always going in with, I'm passionate about X. And you guys came in from a whole different view, and you're making it successful, and that means something. So that's huge.
Thank you.
I like that. Anybody else have a last question? Well, I think you rocked it out, so you've done a great job, and we thank you for jumping up. All right, guys, so just to end everything up here, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. So everybody enjoy the cake, have some wine, drink some water. Thank you very much for coming out and supporting all the startups. So big hand of applause to all you guys for being awesome and coming out. And if you have any questions whatsoever, you would like to join, pitch, anything like that, you can send us an email at info@opn.ninja.